Hey everybody, this is Mimi. I am the amateur chef and I am very pampered because I use Pampered Chef.
Hello, and I'm Jimmy. I'm the professional chef. So today we are really excited about what we have for you. Today is September 13th, which is Grandparents' Day. So we're going to offer a little time together, honoring our grandparents, and talking a little bit about food, showing you a little bit of food, and we're gonna have a great time doing it.
Yes, welcome to Bible Bites. So Jimmy, I am so excited to be here and to be cooking with you. I love to learn all of your methods. Today, I'm going to be using my little Pampered Chef choppers. And you use these on vegetables or anything else that needs to be chopped. I'm going to be using my measuring cup. I'm going to be using my cast iron frying pan. And of course, always I'm going to be using my server, my spoon. So that's what I'm going to be using today while you show us a special type of meal that reminds you of your grandmother.
So all the tools she showed you are offered on Pampered Chef. So you can contact her if you want to buy those and a multitude of other things. But we're going to use the one she showed you today, and we're going to prepare a fried pork chop meal with asparagus and some sweet potatoes.
Yum. Okay, now I have to be honest though. I only like sweet potatoes if they taste really good. Like they got to have like that sweetness. Like I used to eat it with my grandma with the marshmallows on the top, and it was like a dessert. It wasn't a vegetable.
Right. So we're gonna change it up a little bit. These are gonna be delicious. They're gonna be layered with a whole lot of flavor. So we're gonna have a little sweetness. We're gonna have a little spice in there, and we're gonna have a little fat in there too, because we know a little fat goes along with things. So.
Yeah, that's what grandmas always say when you walk in and they say, "We need to thicken you up."
Exactly. So right now we already have our potatoes going because those take a little while. So on our stoves we have our potatoes cut about a medium dice on the stove with a little bit of water to start to soften those up. And as soon as they're softened up, Mimi and I will get our blenders and we're gonna make them smooth just like mashed potatoes. They're mashed potatoes, but they're sweet potatoes. And then at that point, we're gonna start layering in all these flavors with the cream, the maple syrup, and the spicy flavor. Now, Mimi, talk a little bit about the spicy flavor you're using, and then I'll let them know what I'm using for the spicy flavor in the potatoes.
So if you're anything like me, I will wander around a grocery store looking for things, and I'll pass aisles and have to go back and back. Well, in this particular case, I genuinely could not find Chipotle peppers. Like, we couldn't find them. So my quick little hack was to see what type of seasonings that I could trick into giving that flavor. And it turns out that cayenne pepper and chili powder give you that same spice with smokiness. Now, I took it a tiny bit further and added a little bit of paprika as well. So, but if you have Chipotle peppers, I definitely recommend that you do the professional way. Like I said, I'm the amateur. So Jimmy, tell them about yours.
Well, no, it's not necessarily professional, but we're gonna use the nice, full, rich Chipotle pepper. So both will add heat to your meal, but just a little different way. I just have to be careful on mine when we go to mix them up, that I don't leave any huge chunks. Who are a little adverse to heat might get a huge chunk of it, and it may be a little bit more flavor than they expected. So that's the only big difference. She's going with seasonings that will mix in when she mashes hers, and I'll have to use my blender, make sure I get all the peppers throughout, and that'll add the heat in there, okay? So Mimi, why don't you go ahead and check on your potatoes and see how they look to see if you need anything to them. So
they're definitely getting softer.
The meal that we're making today is sponsored by my grandmother. She would make fried pork chops quite often. She cooked all the time for everyone, but her fried pork chops are one of the things that I like now. She cooked many different things and she did very well. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy cooking so much right now, is because I would go to visit her every summer and she was always cooking. And I always like to eat, so I always said, let me see what she's cooking. And I learned a lot of the things I know how to cook from my grandmother and my mother, who's also a grandparent, thanks to my wife and I. So Grandparents' Day again. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I already have 2 pork chops seasoned and floured already, and I'm gonna go ahead and season and flour the other 2 before we get started. I always like to season the meat also, and not just the flour, because you add a little bit more flavor to them. So before I put the flour on, I got a little salt and pepper here, make sure that I'm putting on there. So it's not just in the flour, it's gonna be actually on the meat too. So for those of you who out there are wondering, how do they get so much flavor? You wanna layer flavors and you wanna put it on the meat actually also, and in the flour. So my flour here is also seasoned.
Is there any particular seasonings that goes especially well with pork, Jimmy?
I like to keep it simple, just with the salt and pepper. You can do other things if you want to add some other flavors to the pork chops. But salt and pepper for me is the best, the most universal, the one that for me gets the bang for my buck. So you don't have to run out and find anything special. But if you want to try some other things, you could try some poultry seasoning. That'll kind of give it a little bit more flavor, but salt and pepper for me works the best. Well, I see Mimi seasoning hers. I'm gonna put mine on here. I'm gonna check my oil to make sure it's hot.
Now, when you dredge them, you decide how much flour. Does that leave a specific texture, like crispiness, or like what can you do if you want it more crispy or less crispy? Or
If you want it more crispy or more batter, you would probably go with egg dredge also. But the simple flour on the pork chop is gonna be awesome.
And Pepper Chef does have a tool that has dredging, so you can transfer it from one to the other very easily, very simply. That's available on the website as well. All right, my oil is heating up quickly. I'm gonna get that there. My potatoes are looking good.
Potatoes looking good? Okay, good. We're getting closer now. So I see Mimi has her asparagus in her hand. We're gonna just clean the bottoms off of there. I see sometimes you go places or restaurants and they have long stems. Now that's generally because they don't take off the bottom stem of them. There is a point where in the asparagus where it has a natural break. So if you go down to the portion of the asparagus where it's pretty much the same size and break it, that's the natural point where you could cut it. The bottom you can use, but it's a little bit woody. It doesn't have as much flavor. And this is probably the length that you probably want. So you can cut off probably 2 to 3 inches of that right there, especially for presentation purposes.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I did not know that. But so because I didn't know that, I got a nice, easy way to cut. Scissors.
Yes, they're pampered chef scissors there, okay?
And they come in super handy. You can chop salads with these. You can chop all kinds of stuff.
Okay, now that we have those trimmed, I'm gonna sit those to the side. Oops, made a little mess there. And then I think my oil is ready, so I'm gonna turn away here and put my pork chops in the oil, okay?
Perfect. Now, typically we would be able to either boil these or saute these. We chose to boil them. I always saute them. I saute them with, like some onions and garlic and stuff like that. But I just thought we're going to have so much flavor from the sweet potatoes and the pork chop that this is just going to be really something that kind of blends it all together, gives it that smoothness. and it really didn't need to stand out on its own. So you have the option to saute them if you would like, if you prefer that. Jimmy puts his in. Again, I will show you everything that you see on here is available on Pampered Chef. It's called Michelin 5-star. You could just Google that and it should pull up my Facebook and my website. All right, Jimmy, you ready for me to put my pork chops?
Definitely, go ahead. So I just dropped my pork chops into the frying pan. Oil maybe 1/4 of an inch high in the pan, just so it goes halfway up. Now I have the small 1/2-inch thick pork chops. Now if you have the bigger ones, you'll need a little bit more oil and you may have to finish them in the oven, but Mimi and I on the same page, got the same size pork chops, and these aren't gonna take very long at all.
Okay, so I'm gonna wait a tiny bit longer for my oil to get a little bit hotter. Because you want them to sizzle when they go down, right?
Exactly. Who said you're not the professional?
Listen, I've been learning, I've been listening and learning. Now, and it's funny that I say that, listening and learning, because honestly, Jenny, how did you become a chef? I remember you mentioning something about your grandmother being instrumental in you becoming a chef.
Yes, I would visit my grandmother every summer. So she taught me a lot of the things that I know about cooking, her and my mother. Both of them cooked full course meals every night for us, for the family. So every night we were awarded, you could say, at my grandmother's house, because you had to do some hard work every day. My grandmother, no sitting around, but she would make a full course meal, starch, vegetable, protein every night. So that's where I learned most of the things I know about cooking.
Now tell me a little bit about your grandma, Jimmy. What was she like?
Well, my grandmother lived in Oklahoma, Lawton, Oklahoma. She was a very hardworking woman. She did help other families take care of their homes. So you could call her a domestic engineer if you like. But she took care of the cleaning, the washing, raising some of the family's kids. But she was a hardworking Christian woman. So a lot of my Christian values are also because of my grandmother.
That's amazing. She sounds awesome. I'll tell you, that is one of the things, that I'm looking forward to in the next season of life is cooking. I'm loving learning how to cook and teaching my grandchildren how to cook. We don't have any yet. We're not rushing it. But that was a type of memory that I really didn't have when I was a kid. I didn't learn how to cook. My family, my aunts and my grandma and everybody, their idea of cooking was fried bologna.
Exactly.
Peanut butter sandwiches. I just never learned how to cook.
Well, that was a lot of my upbringing too. She wanted us to be self-sufficient. So, we made a lot of things that some people would eat, some people wouldn't eat. But the meals that she would make for dinner time, I made sure that I was right next to her or asking her a lot of questions, so I would know how to make some of those other meals also. So we did do peanut butter jelly sandwiches. We did fried bologna sandwiches. We did pork and beans. But when she made dinner, it was a nice spread.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well,
let me check on my pork chops.
Okay, while you check on your pork chop, I'm just going to tell you, it really does remind me as far as like Bible Bites. One of the most popular worship songs right now is called The Blessing. And I love at the end when they say, may favor be upon you and 1,000 generations. Your family, your children, their children. And I really believe that this is the type of legacy that I want to leave, is sharing this time with my grandchildren. I'm excited. My kids have started learning how to cook and they're getting into it. They buy Pampered Chef now. They're supporting me. And so I just feel like it's a time in life where the whole world shut down and you're like, who do you rely on? And, I found my faith and I figured I can't go to a restaurant, so I'm gonna have to learn how to cook like we at a restaurant. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a great time for families to benefit, being, semi-shut down, being at home together, cooking together, and definitely eating together. I know my wife and I, we were big proponents of eating together. So from the cooking that I do and my wife also does, it's a great time to sit down and have meals together. It's really, I'm not gonna say no excuse, but a great opportunity to eat together. So when my grandmother would cook with us, we all had to sit at the table and eat together. It wasn't, I'm gonna eat over here, she's gonna eat in her room. Everybody ate at the dinner table. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that that's your memory. That's part of the legacy. It's interesting because when I think of grandparents, Jimmy, I think of actually my husband's grandmother, who was just an amazing woman. She created such a legacy just in her own right with some of the things that she did. But the greatest, fondest memory I have with her is actually she tried to teach me my husband's favorite cookies. Okay? She makes them every time we visit. She was 100 years old.
oh wow.
Teaching me how to make these cookies. And we laughed, and I mean, it was one of the greatest memories that I have. And just being in the kitchen and her trying to teach me. It didn't go that great, but they turned out all right. Once she got her hands in there.
It created great memories though, right?
Yes, I cherish that memory. I'm gonna check on my pork chops.
Check on your pork chops and also check on your potatoes and see how they're cooking. They should be pretty close to get to be able to mash them. So my potatoes are really, really close here. So I'm going to start mashing here momentarily, but like we talked about before, we're going to add some Chipotle pepper here. Not all of this, but some of this. We're going to add some butter. The sweetness here is going to be if you can, real maple syrup. And then we have cream also that's going to go in there. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to start seasoning mine, and I'll be right back with you.
Okay, perfect. Now, while you're seeing those, I do want to talk about how you can also think about the fact that if you don't enjoy cooking, especially this elaborate, like I said, that's not how I grew up. I don't want you to feel bad because there's the option actually to have Chef Jimmy prepare your meals for you and bring them to you. It's called Rail and Grits. It is a catering service, and so the things that he'll be making, we're going to be showcasing on the show. And so the point and the object is to show you that you can try to do it yourself. I mean, discover what you can and can't do by using tools like this that make you at least feel like you're having fun. They feel like toys. Or you can leave it to the professionals and just, all you do is put online and order. And then guess what? You put it on a plate and you pretend like you made it. Right, Jimmy?
Right, exactly. So when I'm not cooking with Mimi or my wife, I'm also preparing meals for everyone else. We have a meal planning service, so if you want a meal for a day or if you want order some for the week, you can call. We can set something up for you. Because we know time is of the essence. So if you don't have a lot of time, we're here to provide a service for you that is delicious, that's fresh, that's professional, and it's something that we know you'll like.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so Jimmy, what happens next with the potatoes?
So are yours really soft?
They seem to be pretty soft. Yeah, they're pretty soft.
Okay, so go ahead and use your hand mixer and make sure there's no lumps in there. Go ahead and start blending them. And
Okay.
I'll talk to everyone else while you mash your potatoes.
Okay, now does it matter how much water is in there?
Is there still a little water in there?
Yeah.
All right, so let those cook down a little bit more. So you might want to turn it up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
It's quite a bit. Should I empty some of it out? I'm not a pro like you, Jimmy.
If there's quite a bit, yeah, empty some of it out. It's gonna, as long as they're mashed, yeah, you want to empty some of it out.
Okay, let me
It's
see.
hard.
I think I'm gonna
Make a little
empty
bit of
some out.
sweet potatoes make a little bit of water, but we need a little bit in there to get them going. But we don't want a whole lot of water in there because it'll kind of mute some of the flavors that we're going to put in there. So she's going to go ahead and empty a little bit of water out. And I'm going to tell you, these maple sweetened Chipotle pepper sweet potatoes, if you've never had them, are going to be something that you're going to want to cook, especially around Thanksgiving, because I always cook them around Thanksgiving time, because there are a fall special for a lot of people that I know when they come over and they ate and they're like, well, those are really good. So sometimes I make them when it's not fall, but I definitely do during times of Thanksgiving because it's a good fall sweet potato. So it's a little bit different than what your grandmother would make with the marshmallows on top, but equally as tasty.
Love it. Okay, go ahead and you can emulsify yours first. I want to see how you do it. You just stick it right in the pan, right?
Right into the pan.
Again, we're going to be adding things like whipping cream, butter, and you can use the substitutes. I think it's important that you understand a recipe isn't meant to be followed literally. You can play with things to make them taste the way that you want them to taste, or you can make them healthier. So if you don't want to use butter, you can use a substitute for butter. This is the type of recipe, as someone who was vegan for a little while, that I would have tried to figure out how to make this vegan, you know? And so, or even, you know, vegetarian, this is a good vegetarian recipe. But you've just got to choose what you're looking for in the flavor and then just keep playing with it until you get it. And I think that's probably the most encouraging thing that I've learned, you know, working with Jimmy, working and learning about cooking is a recipe is a template. It's just there. You alter it. And that's kind of where the fun is just discovering what types of flavors. I never would have made sweet potatoes just because I had that image in my mind of my grandmother's sweet potatoes. And I never would have made a sweet potato pie. Even saying it sounds funny to me. But now seeing it this way, I love the idea of making this as an option for Thanksgiving this way, kind of my way.
All right, I'm done mashing my sweet potatoes.
Okay.
It came out great.
Okay, I'm gonna do mine now.
Virtually no lumps in them. It has the spice, it has the sweetness, it has that fat on your tongue that's gonna be real tasty. I wish you guys could smell some of the pork chops here and taste the yams. You may have to come over, or we'll have to do this again live where we can make the meal and you can taste it and you can tell us what your sweet potatoes taste like and how your fried pork chops taste like. So this is gonna be real delicious. So as Mimi is mashing her potatoes, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about my grandma. So my grandma lived in Oklahoma for her entire life up until the end when my mom took her in and she lived with my mom. I had a cousin that lived there, but all of the younger cousins would go and live with my grandmother for the entire summer. So it was a little different going from Oklahoma, going to Oklahoma from California. Is where I grew up. But I would always enjoy those summertime going to live with my grandma for the summertime. There were some special times, some great times. In fact, after I stopped going as a child, I went back as an adult and I moved in with my grandmother as an adult. And it was a great experience because that's where I ended up meeting my wife. So Oklahoma was a little bit slower than California, as you can imagine, but it was the best time of my life because I ended up moving there, met my wife, and this year we celebrated 22 years of marriage. So it doesn't get any better than that.
It doesn't, Jimmy. That's such a great story. And it's so funny because, you know, one of our sons is in Lawton, Oklahoma. He's stationed there. And he met quite an amazing young lady while he's there. He's going to yell at me for saying that. But hey, fingers crossed, you know, maybe that's the charm. Maybe all the wives are in Lawton. I definitely feel like you probably have quite a taste for Southern food. If you're, you know, if you spent all that time with your grandmother in Oklahoma. I'm really looking forward to some of your recipes that are Southern and just kind of bringing them into 2020. So you tell me what's next. Did you put all your seasonings in?
So yeah, go ahead and put your seasonings in and check your pork chops. Have you turned them over already?
Yep, I turned them.
Are they nice golden brown?
Yeah, they're getting there.
Very, very good. So as we finish adding all the flavor to the potatoes, the asparagus that we cut, we're going to boil, is going to be really quick. So when you're cooking at home, it's all about timing also. So you don't want to start something that's going to be really quick and then have it sit and have to reheat it. So the way we chose to do the asparagus today is going to be a really quick boil in some hot water. We're going to pull it out. Now you heard Mimi talk about shocking her asparagus. So you could do that ahead of time. What that does is keep the firmness, it keeps the color and everything like that. And, you know, if you do those ahead of time, you can just reheat them real quick. And that way they'll stay a nice, vibrant green color. Because what happens when you steam, excuse me, or boil your vegetables, if you don't shock them in the ice water to cool them down to keep the color starts to change, it gets muted. But when we have something like nice green asparagus like this, we want it to look the same way and taste just as good when we put it on the plate. So you can choose to shock them, or you can do them right at the end when you're getting ready to plate your dinner for your family. Okay? I'm gonna pull my pork chop off real quick.
Okay, perfect. Now, while you're pulling your pork chops off, I just want to make sure you guys know the unique thing about this cup is it actually does liquids and it does your dry spices. So it moves like that. So I could just flip it over and use it either way. So it's a 2-in-1, which I love. All right, look at those. All right, let me check mine, Jimmy. They getting there. I think yours might be a little browner than mine.
Okay, that's no problem. We can wait a little bit because we're gonna let all those flavors come together in your potatoes. Are you finished mashing them?
Yeah, I finished mashing them. I put all my seasonings in there. I put the butter in there.
Go ahead and taste it real quick to see if we need to adjust more spice or if we want more sweetness. Mine are right where I need to be. My daughter, Madison, she loves these potatoes.
That's awesome.
I
have a feeling this is going to become a household favorite for us now that I'm learning it.
And it really is quick and easy. But the only caveat or situational problem with the potatoes, Mimi will tell you, is the very beginning. It's not the peeling. It's right after when you have to chop the potatoes.
Wow.
So the smaller you chop them, the more work there is, but the bigger you chop them, the longer they have to cook to get down to mashed potatoes. But Mimi, tell them how you enjoyed cutting the sweet potatoes.
Oh my gosh. You guys, I had no idea how hard sweet potatoes are. I did not understand. I literally had to go down. So that's the importance of having a good knife. And Pamper Chef knives are amazing. But I didn't realize you had to put some muscle in there to cut those. Who would have thought sweet potatoes were so hard? Like, it didn't make sense to me. I expected them to be much more similar to a regular potato. But yeah, so I learned something new today. The sweet potatoes are hard.
Okay, so I think we're gonna be pretty close. Why don't we go ahead and throw our asparagus in?
Okay.
By the time we're ready with that, I'm sure your potatoes are almost ready and your pork chops will be ready to pull out, right?
Okay, I will go ahead and throw mine in.
So we already have the water boiling. She just dropped hers in. I'm gonna drop mine in.
Perfect. And we should have that water salted, right, Jimmy?
I salted a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So often, we don't salt as we go, but when you're boiling some things, yeah, give it a little bit of salt, not as much as we would do with the pasta, but yeah, give it a little bit of salt for some flavor, because your vegetables will absorb some of that, and you may not need as much later on.
Okay, perfect. It's those little tips, I'm telling you. I didn't know all of that stuff when I would cook before, and my food was never as flavorful as it is now. from all those little tips. So what's that bowl for, Jimmy?
That's why I'm gonna put my asparagus in, just kind of drip dry before I go ahead and plate it.
Okay, so that you're gonna shock it in that bowl?
No, I'm not sauteing. I'm just boiling mine.
Okay, so we don't need to shock it.
No, we don't need to saute today. We'll just go ahead and go. We'll just go ahead and boil them, season them, and then we'll plate them.
Okay, perfect. This is so exciting. I feel like a real chef right now. A pampered chef. When you're making your pork chops too, you do want to be careful. Pampered Chef has a splatter guard where if the oil starts popping, it'll help to catch that oil, so it's not quite as dangerous if you're like me who just splat stuff down and you know.
So I'm gonna check my asparagus real quick.
Okay. How long does it usually take for the asparagus? Just a few minutes?
Just a few minutes, maybe 3 to 5 at the most. You don't want it mushy. You want them still firm, still have that texture. It'll bite when you bite into them. That's why you were talking about earlier. If you blanch them when you're done, that keeps that fullness, that texture, and then you can just kind of heat them up, flash them in the microwave or in a little pan with a little bit of butter to bring the heat back into them. But yeah, you don't want them to get mushy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna check mine.
Check yours real quick, okay? So normally with this meal, either asparagus or my grandmother was a big green bean eater. She loved green beans. So sometimes we would have this meal with green beans also, or asparagus. She was a green bean person. I like asparagus a little bit more, so that's why we presented today with asparagus. But for those of you who like green beans go well with this also, okay? So these are all my pork chops I pulled off that were done cooking. Those look nice golden brown. They're gonna look good on the plate, gonna taste even better on my stomach. How are your asparagus doing?
I think they're good. They're probably not gonna look as good as yours, but now what do you do, Jimmy, when you want to drain them? Like,
Either you can get a colander and then let it drain, or you can just, I take them out sometime on a paper towel and put them on a paper towel, but that's up to you.
Yeah, I'll definitely do. That's what my mom used to do. What's funny is I remember my grandma, when she would make her pork chops and fried chicken, she would put the flour and the seasonings in the brown paper bag.
Right.
And just shake it all at one time in the brown paper bag.
Exactly. I saw a lot of that also with my mother and my grandmother. Whenever they fried anything, they pull that paper bag out of the cabinet and they would go to town with the seasoning already in the flour and they would throw them in those pieces. My mom was a wing person. She loved the wings, so she would always fry wings. I like thighs, so she would fry the thighs for me. But yeah, that's perfect right there.
What do you think, Jimmy, as far as like, you can keep these same recipes and still try to keep them a little healthy by using things like the air fryer or
yes, exactly.
baking them, right?
Right. Yeah, you could bake, which is a lot more healthier than dressing them in the oil. The air fryers are a thing that a lot of people are using now. I had my first experience not too long ago at a friend's house. We had fried chicken, and I was surprised how crispy everything got in there. So yeah, you could air fry. Baking is another thing. Even just using less oil is going to be healthy than deep frying some things. So yeah, you could do all of those things to help make them a little bit healthy, because we know, our parents and our grandparents, they cooked for sustenance to make sure that we had enough energy to get out there and do a lot of things that they did, So they made sure that, like they said, it stick to your bones.
Yep.
So let me grab my asparagus real quick.
Okay, sounds good, and then I'll grab mine. My pork chops, they look pretty good, Jimmy. I've never made pork chops like this before. Ah! It's gonna be all about the flavor. My husband is gonna come out and do the taste test for me. Okay, let's get my asparagus now.
Yeah, pull your asparagus right now.
gonna use my Pampered Chef tongs. If somebody would have told me that I would be making sweet potatoes and liking them, I would not have believed them, Jimmy.
So I'm gonna pull my potatoes out and just put them in a bowl before I put them on the plate. So you got, so you can see me over there.
You fancy like that. Leave mine in there. And we do have so many prep bowls in Pampered Chef for the people who do like to have it all kind of separated and set out. We have an amazing new ceramic set. Here's a piece of it. And you set it out and your food just looks gorgeous in it. So keep mine right here. Or when I put it in my Instapot.
So another thing for our asparagus to add a little flavor, I just add salt and pepper to mine.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things you can do with your asparagus to add. Some people like to add salt and pepper with sliced almonds to add to theirs. Last week we did the bruschetta. If you have that balsamic vinegar, you can drizzle very slowly, Mimi, the balsamic vinegar.
For those of you that want to understand why he's saying very slowly, it's because I did not realize balsamic vinegar just pours out. So I had quite a bit on my bruschetta.
Yeah, so you can use that. Sometimes what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna add a little lemon zest to my asparagus. So I brought nice firm lemon and I'm just gonna zest, a little bit of zest in there, add a little citrus in there.
Now, Jimmy, I'm going to add to mine is a little bit of my herb butter that I made last week.
I was gonna bring that up. Have you used all your herb butter? We made herb butter last week, so that is definitely a pleasant surprise you can add to yours also.
Yes. We're going to have to teach them how to make that. It was so fun. That's a fun one for kids too.
You can make multiple butters of all different flavors for you. So how is your asparagus doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm just going to add a little bit of my butter and then I will be able to plate.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start plating right now.
Perfect.
And I'll wait for your masterpiece.
My masterpiece. Ah.
So first I'm gonna put down my Chipotle maple sweet potatoes. Then I'll put down my asparagus that has lemon zest on them. And then our fried pork chop. Which one looks the best here? I think this one, this is a real winner right here. So we're gonna go with that one right there.
Jimmy, don't make fun of me. I might add a little cinnamon to my sweet potatoes.
Why would I make fun of you? That is a great pairing.
I just made that up.
Well, like I said, that's a great pairing because a lot of times we would do the baked sweet potatoes. If we didn't do the pan with the marshmallows on top, we would split them, we would bake them, and we would put the cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg on them and bake them in the oven that way. So that is a great pairing, great idea to do with your potatoes.
Okay, now, I think I've got mine.
Oh, I know it's gonna be great. So.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay, let me see yours.
Let me bring a little.
That looks amazing. It looks professional.
Oh, can you see it?
Up a little bit more. There you go. Oh, yeah. Now, see, I'm in my husband's plate, and he gonna have more than one. All right. Got it? Let's see. I love it.
Got it?
That looks good. Okay, are we ready for our tasters to come?
I'm gonna have to cut some and present it to the taster.
Yes. I am going to provide a Bible bite. You ready? All right. Here comes my tester.
Mine is off camera for.
Perfect little bite.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. Let's see.
It's really good. She left some asparagus on. I didn't get some of that on my fork.
All right. Here.
Give me it all.
Well, you said that like you were surprised.
He's too tough.
You can stand back up. You don't
I think that's a hit.
I know you did a good job. You did a good job.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I'll tell you what, this has been so fun. I am looking forward to really just introducing cooking in a fun platform as a form of fellowship for people.
Right.
And I'm just excited to be doing this with you. I'm looking forward to our next one. And again, like we said, you know, we're intentionally using this as a method of fellowship, and we're always going to provide hope and some sort of faith. And today, you know, after the season of COVID-19 and so many concerns for our elderly, I just thought it would be cool to celebrate them, grandparents especially, today, and honor them, and especially yours who inspired you to take this profession. So we'll always try to be spirit-led with our topics. And at the end of the day, either you want some toys,
Exactly.
just gonna order. So grill and grits, all right? Or Pampered Chef, Michelin, 5-star.
Exactly. So we, like you said, we always try to keep it biblical. And my grandmother definitely want to make certain that I had a Christian background and make certain that I knew myself, the Lord, for me, not what she taught me, but also, you know, one of the things she always talked about was being diligent and, you know, making sure you work hard in everything you do. And, you know, one of the scriptures for me that, you know, I always remember was, you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, don't grow weary in well doing. And whenever you're doing something and you're doing it for the Lord, you know, continue doing it. Don't worry about it because the Lord is going to take care of it. I know you had another scripture also that you kind of thought about.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, the legacy, and when we were preparing for this meal, you know, the scriptures that I thought of, I actually thought about that song, like I had said. And you can look the scriptures up that go along with it. It's Deuteronomy 7:9. There is Psalms 103, I believe, 17 and 18. Psalms 105:8. My favorite is the Exodus scripture, which is, "And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." And it's about generational blessings. And I believe that not only food is necessary. Oh, I love it.
So this is my generational blessing. This is my grandmother, Eleanor. So for those who've never seen her or never met her, this is my inspiration for cooking.
And that is generational blessings. Your children and their children. Thank you guys so much for just watching the show. Hopefully your pork chops turn out fabulous.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So try this at home. Give us some comments down in the bottom as you try this, or have someone try it for you. Thank you for, enjoying your time with Michelin, Pamper Chef Michelin, Grill and Grits. And thank you for coming to Bible Bites. We appreciate you very much. See you soon.